Yaoundé 5.
Tu ne connais pas. Tape le pied là. Mets son sol.
Voilà, c'est un problème de partage. Ça cuit. Et des personnes, il veut manger l'argent là seul. Donc pour lui, président. Oui, monsieur le maire. Ça cuit. Et des personnes,
le maintenant non. Il est il y a 5. Donc il y a le go.
Comme la main c'est en bas.
Ok. Moi, je filme en vrai. Ça cuit. Oh!
Good evening to you all, fellow Ambazonians. Good evening to you all, our beautiful, our courageous, and our resilient people. It's been 6 months when our people were massacred in Mamfe, in newly out at Beko. Our children, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, and our sisters. Some of those that were murdered are close to us. They are our neighbors. They are the parents that raised us. They are people we grew up with. This is a story, an event that will take a long time for us to heal. I would like to talk to all of you today to give you comprehensive information, a report of those that are behind it, those that sponsor it, those that carry out the attack. I know we are at war. We must understand the manipulation of CPDM elites. We must understand how intelligence work, how counter-intelligence work, and some of the liberation strategies that are being adopted, that are being used, that are being acted upon by the regime and agents of the regime. On November 6, 2023, very early in the morning, proxy forces that are controlled, that were paid by CPDM elites, launch a massacre or carry out a massacre, an attack on Ambazonian people in the town of Mamfe, in a neighborhood where I grew up in, and that is in Newly Odegbeko. About 26 people were killed, about 4 houses were burnt, young girls were raped in the process. Within a few hours, we got a report of what has happened and what was happening and what has happened. We sent out information to our intel team to immediately make an assessment on those that are responsible. By the end of that day, the Ambazonia Governing Council was briefed on those that are responsible for that massacre. The key actors that masterminded the massacre. On that day, we were informed of local forces that are operating in Manu, were used by CPDM elites. Those same forces are responsible for the killings of people in Kajifu, the burnings of homes in Kajifu, the killings of Ambazonians in Kekukesem, the killings of Ambazonia in Boka, the killings of Ambazonia in Beteme, the killings of Ambazonia in Kesham, the killings of Ambazonia in Bache, the killings of Ambazonia in Berere, the killings of Ambazonia in Eshobi, the burnings of homes in Eshobi, and the intertribal conflict in Berlin. These same forces were used by CPDM elites to burn those communities and kill 69 Ambazonians. Between February 2023 and November 2023, this group of forces that are used by the CPDM elites, the number we have, based on the number of persons that have been killed in the various villages, is 136. 136 Ambazonians, excluding those that were massacred in Mamfe, were killed between February and November. And if you add what happened in Mamfe, you're looking at about 160 something Ambazonians that have been killed in Manuelon. How did all this come about? All this came about because Cameroon is insisting those that have tasted power must rule, must be in control, and the Ambazonian people will never gain freedom according to their gospel. They took over forces, loose Ambazonian forces that were being controlled by cartels. You know it, I know it. These forces have never been under any direct political leadership, but they were used by family members of CPDM elites for transactional purposes. The Cameroon Bees, the Cameroon military, infiltrated these forces through these middlemen, took over these forces without their knowledge, without their awareness, without the understanding that they have been infiltrated, they are being controlled, they are being managed by the Cameroon Bees. For the CPDM elites, their objective is to bring normalcy to the state of Manu. The goal of the Ayok Takuncho, the goal of the Tabetandos, the goal of the Mengots, the goal of those that have tasted power, accumulated money through CPDM, the ones to maintain their source of wealth and protect their entitlement. That's why they infiltrated these forces, took over these forces, and started directing their actions. The killings, whether it's in Kajifu, it's in Boka, it's in Kekukesem, it's in Berlin, it's in Bache, it's in Kesham, it's in Eshobi, it's in Berere, or it's in Mamfe Central, were all directed, orchestrated by the Cameroon Bees using these proxy forces in Mamfe. The actions were organized, planned, led, guided by the Cameroon Bees using these proxy forces. The name of the group that carried out the attack. I'm saying this, for us to solve the problem, we must identify the problem and be honest with ourselves. I'm not out to blame anybody. For us to solve the problem, we must identify the problem, and the Ambazonian people must understand the source of the problem and the cause of the problem, and those that are behind this problem. No Ambazonian defense group since 2016 or 2017 has carried out a massacre against the Ambazonian people that we know. Between 2017 right up until now, there is no Ambazonian group that has committed a massacre on the Ambazonian people that we know. What has happened in Mamfe and what is about to happen in many other places in Ambazonia, it's as a result of infiltration. When you have groups, you have forces, they have no command and control, they are not under any political leadership, they don't have a source of funding. What do you think will eventually happen to them? They become vulnerable to anyone who shows up to lend a hand. But first, the source of the problem is CPDM elite. The cause of the problem, CPDM elite. Vulnerability. How did forces become vulnerable? These forces have been manipulated not to belong to any, not to be under any political leadership, not to be any under supervisory leadership. not to have any chain of command, so that they can be exploited by these CPDM elites, by their agents, by their middlemen, in order to divide Ambazonians. Once you have a central authority, you have a leadership in which these forces are answerable to. They are under a political leadership that has a supervisory role. There will be guidelines, there will be a code of conduct, there will be accountability. Cameroon does not want these forces to come under a central political leadership where there can be accountability and a code of conduct, where forces can be sanctioned and be exposed. That's why they transfer the control of these forces to middlemen. At first, they started off with county by county. They took nationalist forces, ADF, SOCADEF, and the Tigers, and they turned them into tribal groups for purposes of transaction. That's where the division started. I'm giving you all this information so that at least you know the history and you can know where this problem started, so that we can find a solution for it. They started off county by county, divided Ambazonians into tribal lines. Then they subdivided these forces into different middlemen for purposes of financial transactions. After county by county, they transferred loyalty to those that they wanted them to use them for diplomacy, for financial transactions. They transfer loyalty to the SACOs. They changed them from county by county. They said they wanted to turn them into National Army. From National Army, they transacted them into ASC. From ASC, they transacted them into AMF. From AMF, they transacted them into ARF. Always changing loyalty for financial transactions, for the sole purpose so that these forces cannot unite. These forces should not be under any direct political leadership. So the various CPDM elites and SDF elites, the various occupational authorities now deal directly with these middlemen, where money is the currency of exchange for loyalty, for control, to direct their actions, to influence them, and to dictate the terms of operation. Their goal is to make sure these forces do not align with any nationalist movement. That is the overall objective of the colonial state. Make sure they don't align with any nationalist movement, because it will change their conduct. It will be very difficult for CPDM elites, colonial elites, SDF elites, for the regime to divert the purpose for which they fight. For Dion Gute and members of the CPDM elites to show Mr. Biya that they are working, they have to prove that they can bring back normalcy. The Cameroon military cannot fight. They don't know how to fight this type of war. They've never been trained, because this has never happened in Cameroon. So they have no experience. They don't know the territory. They don't know the environment. It's very foreign to them. they have to rely on CPDM elites. They have to rely on CPDM elites. The bees, the army, the gendarme that are coming from the Bulu land, they have to rely on CPDM elites. These CPDM elites rely on the middlemen. So there's a lot of money that is being circulated between CPDM elites, between the regime and the middlemen to these proxy forces. So what CPDM elites wanted to do, their primary goal is to turn the population against the liberation struggle. How do you do that? You use the bee, you infiltrate these forces, which they have control over, they have influence over. You divert their attention, you create artificial intertribal conflicts, you create a conflict between the Boki people and the people of Egbeko. A conflict that doesn't exist. You make it up. You frame stories. And then you set the two tribes against each other. Then you use these proxies to go to Boki and commit atrocities. And then they will be able to use a specific event and incident to justify. You use those same proxies to go to Egbeko, commit atrocities, and use what happened in Boki to justify. Then you use the liberation. You send these proxies from Mamfe, from Egbeko. You get all these proxies, move them from Imojok, bring them to Boki, send them to Boki land, and then ask the locals, pay 10 million. We don't have 10 million. Then you burn down villages and you kill 3 or 4 to set an example. That's the work of Cameroon bees. That's the work of Cameroon elites. Why are you doing it? Do it and say it's Amber that's doing it. Do it and say, we'll be Amber. We'll be Amber. When I not give money for liberation, now the thing that go, if I not give money for liberation, we'll go born when I house them. And then you implant in the minds of the population an anti-Ambazonian sentiment. This is intelligence and manipulation for the purposes to turn the population against the liberation, against their freedom, against their dignity. Because CPDM elites have enjoyed power, enjoyed fame, they have enjoyed the pride of being an elite since 1961. That's why they will do whatever it takes, including massacring of Ambazonian children, killing mothers, burning homes, using proxies. I'm bringing this information to the Ambazonian people for the first time. You must understand the game. You must understand the thinking system of the enemy. You must understand how they operate. First, understand how they think, understand how they act, and understand how they operate. That's why I'm bringing this education, this information to all of you. Anyone who led the operation in Mamfe, it was led by this group of persons.
this all community because of a very small man. Everybody suffering. Everybody be suffering.
The Mamfe massacre was led by Akko Giant. At the time of Manu Unity Warriors. That's the mask name. It's a generic adoptive name to hide their identity. That is not the real name of the force. But they adopted a generic name to hide their true identity. It was masterminded, it was led by Akko Giant and someone called the Peacemaker. They have been responsible, being used by the CPDM elites over the last few years to make sure nationalist forces do not exist in Manu. They are also responsible in 2022, also responsible in the killing of General Animal Pikin and hacked off his head. General Ashu was also killed by them and hacked off his head. Last week, on November 6, Ayok Takuncho, the former mayor of Mamfe, who wants to become a minister, who wants Mr. Bia to appoint him a minister, as all of you heard, once they directed and influenced and paid these forces to kill our people so that they could turn the population against the liberation, they came out and accused me. As all of you knew, I immediately made an audio that evening. I made a video and I made an audio and exposed their plans, their intention, and why they killed our people. They went silent immediately. They immediately went silent. Last weekend, on November 6th, I warned the Ambazonian people. I warned the people of Buki. I warned the people of Egbeko. I warned the people of Mamfe. I told them that using these proxy forces to commit this massacre will be a tipping point. They have pushed the envelope too far that even the regime itself will no longer want to be part of it. Even the bees themselves will no longer want to be part of it. That they've gone too far than what the elites wanted. Killing 26 persons because someone wants to become a minister? You kill 26 in broad daylight because you want to bring a return to normalcy, because you want to turn the population not to support the resistance and the liberation struggle. I warn our people that these forces that have been used, they will be killed by the same regime. That was 6 months ago. The regime has a strategy. When they use you to achieve their political objectives, whether that political objective is to divide the Ambazonian people, whether that political objective is to turn the population against a specific bloc, whether that political objective is to show a sign of a return to normalcy, whatever that means to them. They will use you, they will infiltrate you, they will influence you, they will use you, they will dump you, and they will eliminate you. I warned the Amazonian people. I warned these forces. 3 days after the Mamfe massacre, this group of forces came out and changed their name from Manu Unity Warriors to Manu Native Warriors. Instantly, overnight, their name has changed from Manu Unity Warriors to Manu Native Warriors. Overnight. I pay careful attention to how things are being manipulated for the purposes to create an impression to give a different interpretation, to create a disassociation. I warn our people, Cameroon, whoever you are, whether you are an Amazonian soldier or you are an activist, whether you are an Amazonian political leader or an Amazonian citizen, and you are being recruited as a spy, as an informant, you are being recruited and framed as an Amazonian soldier to go kill other Amazonian soldiers. La République du Cameroon will use you, and then once they use you to achieve their objectives, they will dump you, they will eliminate you, and they will discard you. I said this 6 months ago. Last week, it's right here. Some of those proxy forces that have been taken over by CPDM elites, that have been responsible in the havocs in Manu, in the killings of our people. It's almost 160 something Amazonians just within a year. As I warned 6 months ago, last week, the Cameroon military, CPDM elite in Manu, they feel they have achieved their political objectives to turn the population against the liberation struggle. They have discarded those that they have used. They've handed them back to the military. The same military that has been controlling them, that has been with them, that monitors and directs these actions against the population. Once they finish using you, they will eliminate you. It happened to Ayeke. You all remember Ayeke? It happened to General Ayeke. Ayeke was a fine soldier, a bee, that was extracted to join the fight against Cameroon. They handed him to middlemen so that there should be no unity with nationalist forces. And then they transacted him to other middlemen. Ayeke was infiltrated by the bees. The bees directed the actions of Ayeke in burning down communities, kidnapping 60-something Ambazonian students. Once they have used him and the bees felt like they have achieved their political objective, what happened to Ayeke? They took out Ayeke, and the other bees that have been part of Ayeke returned to the barracks. What happened to the Red Dragons? Same story. The same story. Same story. There's a video out there where Field Marshal told the Ambazonian people that they were being funded by the minister from the BLM. The video is out there. I don't make this story up. He said they were being funded by Mr. Paul Tasso.
Where them be? Nominally BLM days? Yes. Make them come now. Why them there? I want to talk for the BLM people. I like my people.
We like you too, Field Marshal.
And I like the numbers. I like all the chiefs. And I like all they become. Now, there's one thing I want to say. Something that I go talk about. I appreciate Minister Paul Tasso from Mamfe. When I know you, Paul Tasso not be our minister. We minister for inside the BLM. When I know that Paul Tasso. Okay.
The video is out there for all of you. You've all watched it. You've all seen it. Where is the Red Dragon today? Even before the killing of Oliver, what became of the Red Dragons? It is not Chris Anu Daras that is losing. It's the Ambazonian people. Because for them, the liberation is a platform for transactions. It's not a platform to liberate the people of Libya. So they will sacrifice even their own relatives. That's why I'm bringing this information to all of you. What has happened in Manu, it's a lesson for all Ambazonians to learn. I'm not celebrating because these forces have been arrested. It pains me. It hurt me. The fall of Manu to colonial elites, it's not good for Ambazonia. It's not good for the resistance. When these images are coming out, but we predicted them because we know how these things always end up. We have studied these patterns for 7 years. And if you're a student of patterns, like someone like me, then I'm very detailed in this science, you become too curious. You develop a high sense of interest to get deeper understanding of how the enemy works, how manipulation works, how intelligence works. How did they do counterintelligence? What are their strategies to turn the population against the liberation? And who are they using? Why is it working? That's why I'm bringing this information to you. Look at how many soldiers we lost that day. Part of my family, we have all been victims. Our homes have been burnt. Relatives' homes have been burnt. Some shot. Some have lost their limbs through this recklessness. One of my cousins was ambushed. Transporting cocoa from Eshobi to Mamfe was ambushed. A truck full of cocoa was seized. He was taken into the forest, was shot in the leg. His driver was killed. And 5 million was paid. Because of manipulation. Because forces are being manipulated. We must understand the work of the enemy. They have to make sure the goal of the enemy is to paint the liberation black. The goal of the enemy is to make the average Ambazonian to feel that those who supposed to protect and defend them, those who rose up to protect and defend them, are the same people killing and attacking them. That is the narrative of the occupier. That is the narrative of the agents of the occupier. That is the narrative of the assembly of Confucianists. That is the impression they want to give. It's a perception created. It's a perception engineered, created and propagated by the regime, by enemies of the regime, by the agents of the regime, agents of CPDM. Once you understand the game, you must be a student. Number one, be a student of life. Master these things so that you will be in a position to be well informed, to educate and empower the population so that our people don't fall back into the hands of the colonial master, of the slave master, of the occupier, of the extortionist, of the arsonist, of the rapist, of the Bulu terrorist. It's a manipulative game. They understand our people are still at a survival stage. So cognitive reasoning is missing. They know that the objective mind has not been developed. They know it. They know it. So they use the tactics of fear, which is a survival strategy, as a means to manipulate the nervous system of our people. because they live in a fragile state of being, of existence. The colonial state, no. You must guard against it. These are very powerful psychological weapons. And those that do not understand it, those that do not understand the game, they fall for it. This is the essence of leadership. This is why we have insisted for forces to adopt a nationalist policy and ideology. Forces must understand the reason for which they fight. Forces must understand the enemy they are fighting and the complexity of that enemy. If you don't have a political structured nationalist movement to give the forces this type of ideological education and foundation, forces will continuously be manipulated, will be used, continuously be infiltrated, manipulated, used, dumped, and discarded. It's happening in other blocks, but I will talk about that in other outings. For now, let's focus on Manu. What has happened in Mamfe to our people? Fellow Amazonians, on the 6th of November, a massacre took place. It took place for Mamfe, for newly out. The quarter where me I grow up for the people the way they kill them. Now mommy the way they raise me. Now brothers who I grew up with them. Ejagam people, Kenyan people, Anyang people, Boki people. They raised me for a quarter. Boki people, they married for Egbeko. Egbeko people married for Boki. Anyang people married for Kenyan. Kenyan people married for Anyang. While people don't enter marriage for so long, we don't always live in peace. Mamfe is the place where all the tribes of Manu, they can mix for being Mamfe. The people, the way they influence the development of Mamfe, the Boki people then. Pamo Sisliku became the first, most successful businessman for Mamfe. It teach all we how a person will not even go school. If he becomes successful, it build with the first story building for Mamfe. Give you the first big business them and stores them for Mamfe. It build with the first big canoe them and trailers. Where they go buy rice for La Republique, 10 trailers for Karam go for Nigeria, go sell them. It show we how you fit create big business through cocoa, through Guinness, through rice. You get the generation of Pawanobi from Bodam. Pamos is come out for Bonandu, a very small village. How you feel come out for that kind of village, you become such an influential person. And you help to build that town. Then you get the Commissioner Magedem. You get the generation of the Agbojan, the Obijan, the Ben Mangets. And then you get the Manget family. Pa Manget can build the Manget family. So the Boki people don't play a crucial role for the development of that town. The Kenyan people, all we who build that town. While people don't rise up for fight against Cameroon injustice, the occupation, the annexation, and the colonization of our people. Then. The people we don't taste power, the CPDM elites, where they don't taste power since 1961. Then no one lost that power. When these brave boys and girls, they rise up to pick up arms for fight against the occupation, for fight against Cameroon annexation, for fight against the colonization. La République is first goal. Now for make sure say these forces, they know they're under a nationalist political leadership. Because it means Ambazonia will gain independence. They want time, Cameroon will go, now for make sure say these forces then, they remain divided. The forces for Mamfe, the forces that they did for Akwaya, the one that they did for Mamfe Central, the one that they did for Imojok, the one that they did for Upper Bayan, all them, they go be under different small group of people them, where they call as a middleman. None of these forces, they go belong to one political movement where you go give them the nationalist education, you give them the liberation ideology, you give them a code of conduct, you hold them accountable, you be able to fund them and supply them consistently so that they continuously work now for the ideology for the liberation. The Ambazonian liberation struggle, it get a code of conduct. When forces are there under a political leadership, you feel hold them accountable. Like for the ADF. If any ADF soldier, it do something where it be out of the code of conduct, that ADF soldier, they go arrest him. That's the first thing that. They go arrest him. They go disarm him. They put you under investigation. For check, once they realize and say, wait till you do it not be authorized by the commander, it not be authorized by the chain of command, it be out of the way the ADF be about, that soldier will go through disciplinary actions. And if it pass anything big, with the international community not like them, the international community go hold the governing council responsible. Because now the governing council it control the ADF. Now I ask una, since 2017 or 2018, 2019, all these loose forces from Manu, many people they don't come off outside, including Christmas Ebini, they don't come off outside talking that they are forces. Now then they control them. They don't raise money for them. Now, when you don't get more than 8 to 8 massacres, where they don't happen, from Berlin to Kesham to Bache to Eshobi to Berere to Kekugesen to Boka to Kajifu to Mamfe Central. And for videos, these forces, they don't come off outside like what happened for Berlin. They jig their hand for up. They talk saying that then they do it. Like the one way it happened for Bache. They talk saying that they do it. They make videos. How many of these people then, they don't ever come off outside? They talk say they can't take ownership for the things and where they happen, where they go wrong. How many of them? Even when these forces they don't make video, they talk say, now this person they control me. Within and under this person, they call their name. Now how many of those people then, they don't come off outside, they can't take responsibilities for these forces, their action? Nobody. They like to use these forces them for do political transaction. They like to use these forces them for do financial transaction. They like to use these forces them for project, say then too they get something for doing with the liberation struggle. But when these forces they commit anti-liberation, they carry out anti-liberation actions, all of these people them they run away. You need to hear from them. From all the massacres so they don't happen for Manu, will be orchestrated by CPDM elites through middlemen using these proxy forces. You no go ever see any of these people them for outside. But when you want to talk, like when the Ambazonia Governing Council, in consultation with other nationalist forces on the ground, it called for the lockdown, for the closure of the Trans-African Highway. I get a message from someone where they claim, he don't always claim, say now they control those forces. When they do lockdown, when I need to consult other people, now we they control those forces for money. You know, say now we they control those forces for money. Why would I not consult we? Why would I not consult we? I just ask a simple question. Oh, I say, oh, I don't be no say. Now you talk, so now you control them. But I never hear you when things they go wrong for Manu. I don't hear you the day where 26 of our picking them, mommy, papa, big papa and big mommy them, they be massacred in Mamfe. I don't hear you. Who say you be there that day? Who say you be there that day? Who say the Ebinis they be there that day? Because they don't come out publicly, they raise money for those forces. Who said they be there that day? They only know them, now for use them for financial transactions. And they plead with the Ambazonian people then. Which it don't happen for Manu, including the capturing of these fighters then. Not been a good thing for Ambazonia. If these forces they be there under a nationalist political leadership, they forget training, they forget consistent supplies, they forget a guidance, they forget accountability and oversight. The Cameroon government, no one made these forces. The Cameroon government and the CPDM elites, no one made these forces, they come under any direct political leadership because it maintains an independence. The reason why they deliver for the hands of agents of CPDM elites so that it show a sense of division, it show a perception of division, it show a perception of say these fighters will not be under any direct command and control. So all we must understand the game of the enemy. We must understand the game of the enemy. Ambazonians they rise up for fight against Cameroon. But Cameroon no one make or gain independence. The CPM elites, they no one lose power. That's why they engineered this artificial division. And this division, it need to help the people of Manu. It need to help the people of Mamfe. It need to help the people of Akwaya. It need to help the people of Eimojo. It need to help the people of Upper Banyang. It need to help. Look at Manu today. Now the state where it don't go back for the hand of the occupier more than any other state from Ambazonia. The colonial elites, they don't use this manipulative strategy for use proxy forces in the hands of middlemen for commit these massacres on our people in order for turn the population against the people their own freedom. So all we need to understand the game. We need to understand the objectives, we need to understand the manipulation, and we need to understand how these things work. While people want to be free, there is no Ambazonian today who no one be free. But until our people they understand the work of the enemy, the work of the regime, and how counter-intelligence they work, how they create counter-liberation ideology for turn the population against even the population their own aspirations, for manipulate the population. That's why they bring this education. What don't happen with the forces where they don't capture them? Now pain for all Ambazonia. But I be warned the Ambazonian people 6 months ago when the massacre happened on the 6th of November. They will use forces, they will infiltrate forces, they use forces for do this kind of thing, and after they don't achieve what they want them, they go kill these forces, they go arrest them, or they go discard them. I be warned now. More and more and more go to happen for all forces where they think where they don't use them, say they be independent forces. More and more go happen. That's how infiltration work. But you must understand these things so that you feel educate the population. That the Cameroon bees, that they be responsible for these acts, that they only use those forces for doing, for cover up the bees then, so that they will use the name of these forces for spoil the liberation struggle. All what did happen for those communities where they're not the under, where their forces, where forces they're not the under a nationalist movement, not the same thing. That's why they bring on this education. Not enough for make some person may be a victim of anything. We're going to say the more all we get the education and the understanding, the more all we will secure the integrity of this liberation struggle. I will not leave them that the Republic will come on their propaganda. It sink into the minds of our people. Because these elites, after they don't use these forces for do these things, they will come project themselves, say they don't win. And then they will come now make the population embrace them back as the people who don't help the population from who? From the people where they commit these crimes. Now they game this. That's why I thought make I take the time for kind of educate our people. We call on all Ambazonian forces before it be too late. Make you not be the next one. You rise up and defend the land. You rise up because you want to be free. You rise up because you be full of anger. Of which Cameroon don't do them for you, and they don't do them for your community, and they don't do them for our country. But we must be honest with ourselves to understand the place where these problems that they come out, who they're the creator, so that we as Ambazonians will take responsibility for fix them. Now only we fix them. Now only we fix them. It'll be very simple. If you rise up to fight for the liberation of Ambazonia, you must embrace a nationalist ideology where it get a command, it get a code of conduct. And if it come for us, I just can't talk anyhow. Because I be under a political leadership, we regulate my conduct, my public conduct. I be under a political leadership where it makes sure say everything what they talk, it must be consistent with the aspirations, the goals, the hopes of the Ambazonian people. Now the same thing with the Ambazonian Defense Forces. The actions of Ambazonian Defense Forces must be consistent with the aspirations of the Ambazonian people. Must be consistent with the aspirations for independence and for the freedom of Ambazonia. We call on all Ambazonian forces for rally around the nationalist leadership. We call on all Ambazonian forces for adopt a nationalist approach to the liberation. Because it will help these forces them for avoid this infiltration, for avoid this manipulation, and for avoid this used and dumb strategy. Alright? For now, tomorrow we'll make 1 year. We were people they be massacred for Mamfe. Tomorrow we'll make 6 months. We were people they be massacred for Mamfe. We don't know how some of these families will ever fit for overcome the trauma where they experience. We ask our people, we not continue for pray for the people the way they be victim for that massacre. We not continue for support and give help to the families who they still be homeless. the one where they need care, the one where they need support. La République du Cameroun is goal. Now for drive people them from all the villages around Mamfe and within Mamfe, so that because they know say if the population continue for be for those villages, then it will be easy for Ambazonian fighters for rally themselves and for can attack the colonial military, gendarme, bees, and authorities from Mamfe. That's why they use intelligence, counter-liberation ideologies for commit atrocities within villages, so that you drive the villagers from their village. You push them into town. You make the village, make the villages be very empty. In that way, people and forces, they know if you mobilize themselves. They know if you mobilize themselves, and they know if you be within the population, and therefore mobilize themselves for can fight the regime. Now the main objective this of the regime. I will do an audio for try for summarize these things for a 3 to 4 minute audio and send them for outside. All right. So we call on the Kajifo people then. As the military don't reach their tipping point, the attack on the population by the infiltrated military, it will reduce. We call on our people then for go back for their villages. We call on the Boki people then, the Anyang people then, the Kenyan people then, the Ejagan people then. We now go back for our villages. Because we now suffer for time. We now go back for start to make farms. The regime, it don't chew more than if it chop. We now go back to our villages. We now will be a wealthy people. Now famine season this. We now go back to villages. We now know say we go continuously for do our best. For make sure say such things do not happen, and for gather intelligence, even if they won't happen, we go inform una in advance. The Ambazonia Governing Council, they work very hard. I'm not going to talk much about this. I will leave and make the SG of the ADF when he talk for una. When he talk for una, he tell una which is the Ambazonia Governing Council the plan. But for now, I'm not going to talk much on it. We call on all Ambazonians. We don't come very fast, the people. Not leave and make any person who don't take bribe for La République du Cameroun and manipulate you. For all fighters, not leave and make any person influence you for go fight other fighters. Tomorrow I will talk for una on the intelligence where we don't get them about what this assembly of Confucianist Cambazonian activists. The plan where the meeting will not take place for Yaoundé, and the plan and the intelligence where they don't put us outside for how they want go cause chaos for destabilize Momo in particular. And we talk on and bring on that intelligence tomorrow. The population must understand, the forces they must understand. La République be very desperate. Mr. Bia, a time don't come to an end. They be very desperate. They not be ready for negotiate. They not be ready for Shidong, like we be Shidong for Canada, for a negotiation led by the international community. The infighting for Cameroon, it make no central authority no day where if he take a leadership role for come negotiate the end of this conflict and Cameroon he exit from Ambazonia. Wait, don't remain now for the next few months specifically. It could be a manipulation and information intoxication. All right. It could be a manipulation and information intoxication. A lot of Ambazonian activists where they don't get any stake in the liberation struggle, where they don't be the last 2 weeks, 2 religious authorities from 2 religious denominations sent by the Prime Minister, they come for North America and Europe with a lot of money for divide them for these people then, these activists. There is a lot where they go on, so that everything where they will talk, it will be about against Ambazonia. Because La Republique don't collapse. They are going for divide the Ambazonian people then. Separate Ambazonian people then. Because La Republique don't collapse, Cameroon not get a way for come up with a leadership where if he accept this problem and come with meet up the Ambazonian people then for address them, now propaganda and manipulation be the only thing we remain for them. Una be vigilant. Be a vanguard. Protect the aspirations of the Ambazonian people then. Adopt a nationalist stance. Not leave and make any person manipulate you or fool you. A lot of them don't be corrupted. Alright? Cameroon, the time for your country don't come to an end. Now you for take 'em. You know go fit take 'em until you understand the game of the enemy. You know go fit take 'em if you not invest for nationalist forces for protect that independence. Pay your liberation tax. Pay your liberation tax. Last week, the Vice President of Ambazonia Governing Council, he unveiled to all the Ambazonian people, say the liberation tax in 7 months, it just make 8 months, it don't generate a revenue of 100 million. And the last week for March, from March 23rd to end of March, the liberation tax, it generate a revenue of 5.8 million CFA in just 1 week. In total, 8 months, 100 million. The last week of March, 5.8 million. When I get hope, we get there, small. I want to thank Brother John, Comrade John, for Vancouver, for my t-shirt we sent for me. Nine this, when I see I'm shake no day. Nine this. Reverend John from Vancouver, thank you very much. Thank you very much. My t-shirt we sent for me. Nine that shake no day. Ambazonia they say shake no day. Nine that. See that children come out against today. I am final. Alright? T-shirt don't come. T-shirt shake no day. If you want your own, contact me. I will contact Brother John for Vancouver. He will make your own. I'll tell you how much it costs. We ship them for you. Alright? So I'm just telling me I take the time for educate our people then. We take the time, we comfort our people then. The more education we get them, the more we understand the game of the enemy, the more any person no need for fear. No man no need for fear. Alright? When I get a good night. If you get any question, please contact me. If you get any discussion, even if you disagree with what I don't talk for here, contact me. Talk to Brother Asu. I know agree with what you talk for here. It'd be okay for you for disagree. It'd be okay. Contact me, but be very civil and be very respectful. All right? Be a person where you stand for Ambazonia, defend your freedom, defend your country. If you not get any intelligence on the enemy's activity, we not send them for away. They be desperate. We'll talk more tomorrow. When I get a good night, may God protect and keep all man safe.
Welcome to ACN.
Well and be. Let them come, no? Let them I want to for the Belgian people. I like my people.
We like you too, Field Marshal.
And I like the numbers. I like all the chiefs. And I like all the become. Now, there's one thing I want to say. Something that I go talk about. I appreciate Minister Paul Tesson for Mamfe. When I know you, Paul Tesson maybe now when I minister, we minister for Israel BLM.
Clap for up. Clap for up.
That's so.
Clap for up.
When I know that Paul Tesson, okay. Ceasefire. Now, Field Marshal for Ambazonia the top. I appreciate also Fonkum Ate Uranium na Fontem Boniface.
Welcome to ACN.
can't really control that because you know how a document editing goes.
Yes. Okay. So why don't we take the BLM issue now, and then since they have another meeting and there are burials and things going on back home, let us hear from the BLM community when Edmond comes back in. And then we will come now to the paper. And then we also have the TPS, the Temporary Protective Status. The members of the National Alliance couldn't be here today. They'll probably be at next town hall, but we will just try to educate our people more on the TPS and the information we were able to gather. And then they'll see if they can come back to next town hall, the National Alliance for TPS. So let's wait for Edmond, and then we would hand over to the BLM community. We honestly thought that this is very, very important. We had to give it the utmost attention because, one, it is a massacre that is tarnishing our struggle. Each time our people are trying to talk to the international community and put our struggle in good light, there are always elements who go out there, and then the conversation now goes from to justifying or explain or distancing ourselves from things that should not have happened. And the town hall has gotten to the point where, to the extent to which we continue to say that we cannot talk about this is in-house, this is happening here, this is not us, and try to deny and blame La République, when these independent fact-finding missions go on the ground, even those of our people who have been involved in these atrocities are going to be held accountable. We cannot separate a fact-finding mission that would investigate La République and not investigate us. And it is time that we start educating our people and warning our boys that whoever engages in these atrocities, be it kidnapping for ransom, as has become frequent again, there are now groups that are kidnapping and directing payments to be made to people in the diaspora. And the people in the diaspora have become so emboldened that they are actually collecting money from fellow Southern Cameroonians in the diaspora while their boys are doing the kidnapping on the ground. And we have these reports, and we are going to present this in the town hall once we have gathered all the facts, with the names of those in the diaspora who are actually collecting money on behalf of so-called political groups. They are members of the groups, on behalf of, in the name of forcing people to pay contributions to this struggle. It is wrong. We are not going to win this struggle by putting by putting guns to the heads of our people and forcing them and not accounting to them. We are not going to win this struggle that way. So what happened in Lebialem was done by Southern Cameroonians. We have to admit it. And we have told our partners in the international community who these people are, which group committed it, and who are the members in the diaspora working with those groups. And the town hall is willing, and if we have to testify against them, we are not going to be intimidated or reduced to cowardice or afraid to call out those who are committing these atrocities. The murder of funds and chiefs and innocent people by Southern Cameroonians is wrong. And then, as if that is not enough, to go out and spread misinformation to cover up only emboldens the perpetrators to keep doing what they are doing. So when the community of Lebialem is ready, please take the floor.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you very much. Is Francis here already?
I am here.
Okay. All right. So, Francis, you want to go first?
No, I think it's better that you go first.
Okay. So I have to first start by telling everybody here, I mean, what a very difficult week it's been for the people of Lebialem. And first, our thoughts and prayers goes to the families of the bereaved And that includes Francis, who is here, who lost 2 grandparents in that particular incident, the maternal grandfather and the maternal grandmother, both of whom were slaughtered senselessly. And of course, the entire BLM freedom-loving people of BLM County. And this tragedy really has many layers that hit me like a thunderbolt. Not because it just occurred in my backyard, not of course to families that I really know, but also because I really, one of the people that we interviewed who was actually the victim, one of the victims of this heinous crimes, even though he was able to escape, is a young man who really have poured in his best, done his worst, his best, hiding our fighters when the belief in the Russian Revolution. But when you hear his statement and hear the last part of his story, when he came out and heard the audios that were being actually peddled on social media by Chris Arno, the fact that the guy just said, look, they've been believing everything we've been telling them. Now he's beginning to question and think that everything that has been told has been fake. Third layer is that one of the chiefs who was murdered, the mother went into shock, and I was struggling to take care of that grandma, and and then why we could arrange to get him transferred from Chad to Douala when she went into shock after hearing the death of her brother, and then of her brother was actually so she lost a son and a brother and a stepbrother. The 3 people, of the 4 people who died, 3 were connected to her. She could hold it no more. She died on, I believe, was that on Monday, Francis?
Thursday morning.
Yeah, Thursday morning. And then she was buried, was it yesterday morning she was buried?
Thursday night.
Yeah, she died Thursday night. Then they buried her on Thursday. She died Thursday morning and
she died breaking Thursday morning, and then was buried Thursday night.
Right. And then the last and final part of my royal low point was to see political hacks like Paul Tasson actually take this opportunity to really exploit this and use it as a means of actually cowering to their lot in their own day, and organizing what they were calling manifestation, even without condoling with the families and stuff. And of course, the fact that La République would seem like the people of that particular locality in the BLM would come to really be calling for rescue from La République. It just has to hit you in a way, in a particular way. So, and I have to make sure that we understand that we're not going to grow a fight external tyranny while growing while condoning homegrown tyranny. Tyranny is tyranny. So let me start by recounting the story of that day before I go into commentary, because if I go into the commentary, I may not end. That's how angry and how annoyed I have been this past days. On Saturday, February 25th, February 13th at around 3 p.m. in a village, in a locality called Asota in the BLM. Oliver Lekiaka, known by his nom de guerre as Fimasha, entered this locality with 12 other people, well armed. Amongst them were 11 men altogether and 2 women. Of course, the people in the locality know almost all their names, and we've been provided with their names. One of the first person, we've spoken to 5 people already, testimony. Amongst the 5 people that we've spoken to, 2 of them, a few people have watched videos online. 2 of those people were actually arrested and tied and released by La République when they got there. You can see those videos there. With one of the persons was the person who carried him on his bike to do some of these nefarious errands within that village, and that person was carried at gunpoint. The third person is the wife of one of the chiefs. I mean, the fourth person is one of the chiefs that was murdered, and then the fifth person was one of the chiefs who narrowly escaped death. So these are the people that we've interviewed so far, but we're going to interview all the 30-something people who were at that who were victims of this massacre, and we'll get those accounts. We have tons and tons of audios that we have, and we would be supplying them to whoever needs, because these people are going to be held accountable. So, let me go back and say on that February 13th, this group of armed men entered that village, picked up, started rounding up all the youths in the area. The first was one of the persons we interviewed by I would just call him M. M was one of the very first to be picked up, and he was confused for his brother, who is a chief, one of the chiefs who was later gruesomely murdered. And they started beating them up, initially with machete. But Oliver Likiaka then gave instructions. Let me just call him FM, as he's now the guy, as these people reported, used that. So he gave instructions that they be beaten with canes rather than machete. Soon after, one of the chiefs who was murdered, Chief Fazizong by name, joined them there. He was actually going to accompany to see off a friend who had just visited him. He was picked up as well, and then brutally, so tortured that he sustained a lot of head injuries. At the end, they took off his cap. Some of these traditional caps that have ropes on them. They took his cap and then tied his hands behind him with the rope of his own cap, and they got these boys also well tortured, and then they proceeded to gather even more boys, and then moving from one part of the village to another. And when they eventually, by 6 p.m., they gathered these people to a particular location. And I'm not going to give the names of locations because you people don't know them, but it's called Beguer. I will give this full report at some point, share it online. And when they got there, they sat these guys out at around 6 p.m. And this is where the place where the carnage really started. Of note, from the people we have spoken to, the guy the bike guy, he was picked up by around 5 p.m. himself. When he was picked up, the people who picked him up, he could identify them as Commander Mary and then Mika, and then another boy from the village who was acting like the person that will be showing the armed group, the houses of the different people that had been earmarked, for death and torture. So that guy is called Titus Tangolem. And when they picked these guys up, the bike guy, when he was picked up in his shots. He was the one who was ordered by Field Marshal to carry him on his bike along with another lady, the called Commander Riza, who was actually with her, that took them to another different part of the village, again, where they rounded up all of these people. And then let's move from there now to the scene of the massacre. At around 6 p.m. when they got there, after torturing all these people, these people described them as being tied with ropes behind their hands, like synonymous to use their words, quote unquote, the way slaves were tied in those days. And they got there, they told these chiefs that it was Judgment Day, and they accused them for having voted in a council election as supposed. And then at that scene, Oliver himself gave instructions for the first person to be murdered was Fazizong. And when Fazizong, the instructions were given to General Tonda, they say, to fire quote unquote fire for Zizong on his blow him up on his chest, as they said. And for Zizong, this guy then went to for Zizong, who actually offered to confess, quote unquote. And the general in question went back to FM, who was their commander, who was their lead, and told him what the chief had just said. To which the FM replied, "There is no confession, quote unquote, there is no confession in the grave," and then ordered another person with his non-de-guerre as general killer to blow for Zizong. For Zizong was shot at 10 p.m. For Zizong died instantly, of course. And there were reports that even if they had left him, even without shooting him, he would have died of his injuries sustained from the beatings. And of note, one of the minor details I left behind was that there was a 45,000 francs that was actually confiscated from him, which was money the poor guy had just taken from the meeting and was using it to go pay for some work, rehabilitation work that had taken place in his compound. Is there something on my video or something? Okay. Oh, no. I think somebody is showing you the victims. So, so then the next person to be shot was this person that is actually on the right of the screen. This is Fomin, who was shot on the head at around 10:15 p.m. And then in the interim, they had sent for less. So
just a slight correction.
Okay.
The person at the far left on the top of the image is for Zizong.
Okay.
The one in the middle is Fomin.
All right. Okay.
And the one that is shot in the head is for Lesso.
Yeah. So for Lesso, in the interim, after they had shot for Zizong and Fomin, they sent for Lesso. When they went to pick for Lesso, who was the third person to be shot at somewhere between 11:30 and midnight. When they went to pick him up, Lesso apparently resisted, and then the boys, in order to show him that the men business, fired gunshots. And then Oliver and the rest, the FM, let's call him that, and the rest of the folks and the rest of his armed men who were there, heard those gunshots, unaware of what had happened. They too started shooting until shortly when those who had sent to go and arrest for Zizong came back, and he asked them who actually gave them orders to shoot. And they told him that this guy was recalcitrant, and then they needed to tell him that they meant business. And he ordered, quote unquote, for a ceasefire, and everybody stopped shooting. And for Zizong was later shot, as I said, between 11 and for Lesso was later shot somewhere between 11:30 and 12 midnight. And after killing the three of them, Oliver then ordered that their corpses be picked up and dumped in a nearby river, called River Lesso, I guess. That's the name of the river. So, and which they complied. Some of the people who gave testimony actually took part in taking those corpses and dumping them in the river themselves. And when they did that, Oliver ranted. He had a list of 43 chiefs. Confidently, so you never have to slow down at work. He had a list of 43 chiefs that he promised that he was going to kill from that particular area. And after they were killed, in the meantime, this young bike rider who I mentioned, who transported Oliver and his group to different parts of the village, he was sent along with the same General Thunder to go and pick the would-be fourth, one of the victims from that. So they got to from this compound, and they got him. They broke into the door, got him. His own account is there, independent from this. As part of this investigation. So they got him, and when they got him, the young man who knew the General Thunder quite well, he then pleaded with Thunder to at least spare from that. After a serious, some conversations there. Initially, Thunder would not want to hit, but as mercy would have it, eventually he healed it, and then they allow for less from that to go. So from that was actually ordered to be banished from the village and never to come back. I would say that the accounts of from that and this particular account had a little bit of a difference in that from that did mention in his own independent account that he had some that they tried to fire him, but then the gun didn't actually fire initially. But even though the account from this other guy said no, they never really fired a gun. There are minor details, but the fact is they went into his house and then got him and finally left him, and he escaped and then found himself. And then when we interviewed him, he was in Sancho to give accounts of his own. I'll leave out the minor details of him trying to escape, how he eventually escaped to Sancho. But then these people went back and told Oliver or FM with a story they had concocted that that from that had actually heard some of those gunshots that were shot earlier, and then decided to and escape before they got there. So because they were afraid that if they didn't do so, then Oliver, quote unquote, would not leave them alone, according to the account that Thunder gave from the bike guy, according to the information that Thunder spoke to for Zizong, and for Zizong himself corroborated. From that himself corroborated this part of the story. So back to the scene of the crime. After they had killed Falesa, who was the 10th victim, that they took the rest of them, probably about 32 in number. As I understood, all of those people that you see chained, they took them through the forest into a compound. And that compound, at that compound, they kept them there and kept a guard. And Oliver told them that he was going to come back at some point by between about 1:30 a.m. per those accounts, in order to complete to continue the judgment as a quote unquote, as he called it. So when they got there, at that time, they left one of the guards to guard them, and that guard was actually the one who was later picked up by the by La Republique, human engineered monster, the military, of course. So they got there, they left them. The guard was there. So these guys were actually in one room. Then the fourth victim, who was actually shot by the bee, was because the rider, in between, from the time when they caught them and they were taking them from that particular area after killing these three people, he managed to escape. Since he was one of the very few people whose hands were not tied, he managed to escape. Went and alerted the children of the victim, including to Francis' house that night. So that's how this was the first message. This is how we got it immediately as things were happening. He called to let them know what was happening, because some of the children of the victims are living in Francis' family house right now. So they called and then told them, and then told some of the ones that were in Chang. And those in Chang then now struggled, and then they alerted the military, the Cameroon military, who had actually had an earlier encounter with Oliver's group earlier in the day during another encounter they had in another area of the BLM. So it was then that the military then went in. When they went in, they arrived there, according to accounts, by 3 a.m. And that account is at that time, at around 3 a.m., the fourth victim went out to go pee, and these other guys who were actually whose hands were tied and they were locked in one, they were put in one big room where they all lay, heard a cry from him for help, and they looked through and saw that he was bleeding heavily and he was screaming. So they didn't know what was happening. They thought at the time that it was their tormentors who had returned, to complete the job as they had initially indicated. But it turned out, so everybody was there, not knowing, petrified, not knowing what to do. But at day dawn, they realized that the bee came in there and then broke into the compound where they were, and then pointed guns at them, and they were about to shoot them before they realized that their hands were all tied, and then asked them questions, and they told them what happened. So they took them, and then of course, did their publicity stunt and released them, and then ordered some of them to take those bodies out of the water. And the guy who was shot in the arm, his name is George. They took him to a nearby hospital. They ordered that he be taken to the near hospital, but he died on the road. And it was then that so that's how these guys were then released. And it was from there. So the young white guy actually took these two cups, the cups of those, two of those chiefs. The third one had been buried that last night. That was buried. And then they took the cups of these two chiefs at the behest of their children to drive to the nearest area where they could send a car to actually take those corpses to Chang mortuary and then put them in the mortuary. But along the road, he encountered two of the, those people, two of the fighters, two of FM fighters who had escaped, and they narrowly missed killing him as well. Thankfully, according to his account, because at a location called Bete, where they had escaped, which is a nearby village. Actually, I think it's actually in Bo rather than in Kupe Madinguba rather than Libialam. So, but it's a very nearby village to this village. So they arrived there, and the church had just closed when he arrived with these two corpses, and the crowd gathered and were asking him stories. And then all of a sudden, and he was explaining to them that these were people killed the night before by Fimasha and his group, and then these two gunmen who had escaped.
And we promise that we will not disappoint them.
Edmond, please unmute yourself. I had to mute everybody. Sorry.
Right. So, in that process of explaining to the villagers in that area, that those two guys overheard, came out. Luckily he spotted them from afar as they were shouting that that was the young man who escaped the previous night, and they were running after him with guns, and he was able to mingle there into the crowd and then escaped, and was able to live to tell the story. We can be able to tell this story and use some of their image and use some of their description, because they are now in a location that is safe out of the BLM. There are other people who have been interviewed who have actually asked that we don't use any identifiers because they are still within the area. And the wife of Chief Foreman, who was actually also seriously beaten herself. I think we can also talk about them because they are now in the location where they are safe. So this is a travesty beyond proportion. And what I would say is that if you had this thing happened in the BLM, as you know, has what they call their own county government. And this particular LGA is called Fontem LGA, where these atrocities took place. It's called Fontem LGA. They have their own LGA administration. They have a security council. When this thing happened, many of us were gathering this data and wanted to actually like keep it, waiting until we can get all the full data, you know, in order to be able to come out and then talk to. I actually contacted the chair of that LGA, since I know him, and I was about to contact the other people to say, look, these are atrocities that are being committed. What are you people doing? Let me first of all give them the benefit of the doubt to hear from their own side of the story, and then only to learn that Chris Anu had gone out there and started peddling all this rubbish and putting out information about, you know, this was done by the paramount chief, who actually, these are his chiefs. And one of the chiefs is actually an in-law, the father-in-law to that paramount chief, that they are claiming that Chris Anu's, the Crass was actually telling us that paramount chief was responsible for the death of these guys. And this cannot really, it was at that time that I started actually even writing on social media that we cannot do this. Even though we had not had the full investigation, it was already pretty clear who was the actor here. And I must tell the people of the BLM that, I mean, the people of this of House, that these particular atrocities were preceded by 2 other women who were killed along with their dogs. And as we went into this to realize that they were also done by our own boys. And you cannot begin to ask your question, you're in a different part of the BLM, you begin to ask the question as, you know, as I ask myself, what are we on earth really fighting for? Can we condone tyranny here at home while fighting tyranny, foreign tyranny? The answer is no. Can we then allow, of course, you then, like I said, allow political hacks like Portasong, whom all of you know, that you might have heard his video at some point. I mean, when this thing happened, the first thing that the fool would do is actually to take and then go to social media. I mean, go and then put out information for plan a manifestation. You don't actually even talk to the bereaved family. You don't allow the bereaved family to grieve. All you do want to do is go on the political adventure, actually out there, you know, to audition for who we know who. And it's because we have given them the platform. And the fact that Chris Anu would take out this information and then try to make and create an alternative reality. It is good to say, it is okay to say, I don't know, we don't know yet. And let the investigation take place. Let us be credible. We must know what we are fighting for. If we are not able to fight internal tyranny, if we're going to rise new oppressors to take over the old oppressors, then we may just better stop this, because we're not ready for freedom. We have to be very, very clear and be very, very strong in our defense. I mean, in our condemnation of this, but also work hard to say, whoever is capable of making you believe absurdity is capable of making you commit atrocities. And if you don't know, and then you are actually peddling all these elaborate lies and this kind of stuff, then you are an accomplice to these heinous crimes. Because if you sanitize this, who is going to be next? I don't want to give the likes of Portasong and co the space to continue to use the misery of our people, because many people have died in the BLM, of course, in the hands of La République. And even the BLM, these atrocities would never have happened in the BLM, but not for the conditions created by La République, with the help of the Portasongs of the world, who told people boldly, when my people actually ran into the bush, into the forest, after the invasion, after the place was invaded, and Portasong actually went out there and told the people that, hey, that the BLM people love to live in the bush. Not my parents, not the people that I grew up in, not the place that I grew up in. Maybe his own people, not the BLM people that I know. So, but if we keep doing what we're doing, we will just be giving them the ammunition to use. And then we go back also to the international community, and then we look stupid. And so first of all, it is quite unjust to actually have a crime committed by one person, and then you want to put it on another person's head. Because I know for me that once justice is not done, nothing else matters. And it is wrong to do that. Number two, it doesn't help our cause. And it just weakens our revolution. It weakens our resolve. We have the strongest case on possible. And like I say, La Republique has committed so many more crimes that even if the war were to stop now, and you wanted to actually go after the criminals of La Republique, there is enough there to go after them, not to invent other things that they didn't do, and then put it there where you get there, like I was saying before. And then somebody who knows this and exposes these crimes, and you look like an idiot. And this is why all of us must see ourselves like people. If we hear that something has happened behind our backyard, we do have the resources, we do have communication, we do have the contacts within our own territory to get back into it. It's our duty, it's our responsibility to get back to our people, find out that information and get the authentic information and put out nothing but the authentic information. If any day we do find out that any of these things that we said was not true, I'll be bold enough to come out to this place and everywhere else and say, yes, we were wrong. But as of now, 99.9% of that information that I'll give you is what it is. And we have, again, troves and troves of documentation. If something happens, I'm fully aware of the Colin Powers presentation at the United Nations trying to defend weapons of mass destruction when they were known indeed there. But I know that what I'm saying is different. And I will stand by it. And if anything comes out that is different, I'll be bold enough to come out here to say we were wrong. So, and I urge that when we get out of here, what I want to see is Oliver cannot do this. FM cannot do this without being sanitized. If you are outside here actually struggling to defend them, you really are not ready for freedom, and you should get out of this struggle. You are dead weight on our struggle, on our quest for freedom, if you are doing that. And all of us must really know that. Even if we are 5 of us, if we're 10 of us, if we're 3, if we're 100 of us freedom fighters, we will continue to fight this fight. We will win this fight. We will win this war. And we will eventually win it. But we are fighting for freedom. And I will lastly end by reminding all of you why I keep saying I'm fighting for freedom. I'm not fighting for independence or federation or whatever, because just think that if we handed our country to hoodlums like this to rule right now, what is going to happen to all of us? Well, are we just going to have send out old oppressors to then come and get new oppressors? Just who's going to be next? So, guys, if I'm angry, please permit me be, because I'll continue to be angry. And I want to leave it that and answer questions, because if I want to talk, I can talk for 3 hours on this particular issue. It's jarring, it's goring, it's unacceptable, and we cannot continue like this. Crime is crime, and we must stand up for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Edmond Folefak. And I don't know if my co-moderator, Francis, wants to say anything, but Francis and Edmond and all the people of Lebialem, I would like, on behalf of the people of Southern Cameroon, extend our most heartfelt condolences and prayers. We can only pray to God, who knows why this is happening. I want to thank you guys for being bold enough to step up and say this crime was committed by Oliver Lekeya Fobunye, who is Chris Anu's brother, who is a member of Sako's group. And instead of them to come out and condemn this, Sako and Chris Anu and the people of his group and his brother Oliver on Ground Zero, they instead go out to cover it up as if they did not commit it. This town hall has told our partners in the international community that this massacre in Lebialem was committed by the Red Dragons, headed by Oliver. And his brother Chris Anu and the Sako group are the people covering it up and trying to paint a different picture about it, so that they know when they go in to do their investigation, when they are reporting, like I see Ilaria reporting on Twitter, saying that the separatists, it is not the separatists. It is the Red Dragons, headed by Oliver Forbenier, whatever his name is, Chris Anu's brother of the Sako IG, who committed this massacre. We have to be bold enough. We have to face them fire for fire if that's what they want. Because if we don't, like Edmond said, this would lead to tyranny amongst ourselves. The only way you stop a bully, a tyrant, is to stand up to them as we are standing up to La République. But we cannot be fighting La République and then dealing with this kind of nonsense in our midst. So, Francis, Edmond, the people of Lebialem, once more, we extend our heartfelt condolences to you, and we thank you, and we hope that Southern Cameroonians learn from this, that we must stand up, we must speak out, and we must call it what it is, and distance ourselves. So by the end of this meeting, we hope that the Southern Cameroon's International Town Hall will take a resolution where we are going to publicly put out a statement and copy whenever we have these webinars and conferences and town hall meetings with the international community and Ilaria and people like that want to talk about separatists committing murder and human rights abuses. We have to interject and call the groups and call the people who are doing it. Otherwise, we would all be painted with the same brush as being savages.
Yeah,
Frank, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll just talk for a minute. As you can imagine, it's been a very difficult week for me. It's the reason that I prefer Dr. be the one to talk. Yes, I've lost my grandfather on my father's side as well as on my mother's side. I've lost a granduncle, and on top of that, grandma also hearing of the news of her son, Fomin, who was a chief, her brother, who she calls her father because he's the successor to their father, Fozi, and then also her half-brother, George. And also even the fourth victim, Foleso, is my friend's father. We grew up together in Douala before eventually he retired to the village. So I know all the victims of the people that have been killed. It's been a very tough week. We're hoping that after Thursday is the last person that we're going to bury in the family. It's been very difficult. And like everyone in this struggle, one expects that you'll be visited by the atrocities that's happening at home, that nobody is going to be spared. But I did not expect it to come at our own hands. That's number one. And number two, what I find the most vexing, as Doctor mentioned, is the fact that in this case, in this singular case, the monsters that we all know, La République, were the one that actually prevented more families from crying. That has got to hit all of us very, very hard. And I will just end by saying that it also pains me to see people like Paul Tasso on this opportunity that has been created by us to paint an image that we've all fought against. Now we must all stand together as one to push out anyone from amongst us that is doing anything that is contrary to the revolution, because it stands a risk of really hurting the revolution. Because the other thing that's vexing is that these same chiefs that were murdered, these are one of the victims told us, these are the chiefs that they cannot count how many goats and pigs that were given to Oliver and bunches of plantain to feed them. To wake up one day out of just sheer wickedness and kill them, it's just something that's just is beyond the pale. It's just beyond the pale. And he had mentioned to all the youths as he was arresting them from one end of the village to the other end to the market square where they were killed, which is one thing that I think Doc forgot to mention, was that he said all these youth would be taken to the camp forcefully because they're planning to go fight a battle in Kupe Manunguba. I don't know what that is, but Oliver did say that from his own lips. And all the 32 or 33 persons that were there tell us the same account. Because they asked that if you came to the chiefs, why are you taking the youths? He said the youths will be taken to their camp. So after the executions, he kept those youth in the room and said he would come at 1:30 in the morning to come and collect them to take to the camp before they came and were released military. Again, that must hit us very, very hard. We know how much blood La Republic has on their hands. To be the ones now appear to look as good guys when we know they are not is very painful. And the last thing I'll just say is that we must all stand as one and condemn this act, because there's a chance that if we don't stand by the truth, we'll risk losing the persons from that village. To see that we also stand with Crisano. So please, let's all stand for the truth. I'll end there, and I think Doctor is going to take most of the questions. I didn't want to talk too much because I didn't want to become too emotional. If there's anything that he misses, I'll fill in the gaps.
Thank you, Francis. It's really an emotional thing, and thank you for the strength of even being able to be here. And same to Dr. Edmond. Thank you, and thank the people of Lebialem who are here today. Before we take questions, I would ask if anybody from Lebialem has anything they want to say or they want to add, and then we'll take questions as a people to be directed to the people of Lebialem. Is there anybody else, please, from Lebialem or connected or affected by this massacre who wants to say something?
Mr. Ato Muchwa.
Yes. Oh,
can you hear me?
Greetings.
As I come for here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes. I'm also very, very, I'm tongue-tied because I'm equally very directly affected. I will not go into the length of all that. It was Saturday, I received a call of that, what was unfolding. That was at 3:41 Sunday morning when I was already sleeping. So from that moment till this moment I'm sitting here, I've also been very, very involved. And I just want to confirm, independently of what Edmond has just said, that just exactly matches with also my own communique. I will not go to that at length because I think, Edmond, you are not the only one who is angry here. I'm equally very angry. But that is not enough. We have to shrek off, despite how hard it is. And I will just end because I will not want to elaborate. As Edmond said, if I will have to again go all that way, I will even go down 4 or 5 hours. So, but what I have, and I have gotten it just a few minutes ago, and I would like to say it here, it's just a matter of caution, because why this has been said, especially there are threats ongoing on all those that might have been interviewed along the line, individually or otherwise. Those threats are currently going on now. So that is all I have to say. And we will have to condemn this, irrespective of who does it. We have to do so. It is our obligation. I know all those people on those pictures, all of them. And just to conclude, Chief Famin Kamsa was my classmate. Thank you. That's so far.
Thank you, Chief, and also to you, our heartfelt condolences. Anything we can do, especially those who are being threatened, we must know that fear is the most powerful weapon. It's a deterrent. Those threats are meant to continue instilling the fear, to kill people and then go and threaten their families, like La République has done to us for 60 years. Like Dr. Edmond said, then what are we fighting for? Anybody else from Lebialem, please? You have the floor. From Lebialem, please.
Mr. Moderator, please. If there's anybody who thinks that he has a contrary version, let them speak now or for their peace.
Okay, if there's nobody else from Lebialem who has anything to say, let us take questions and from Southern Cameroonians. We will go down as usual. If it's a comment, let's first take questions because our guests from Lebialem might be leaving us soon. Not might, will be leaving us soon. As you understand, things are happening back home at a very rapid pace. So let's first take questions. I would ask on Chief and Dr. Edmond and Francis, if you want to just jot down the questions as we always do and answer them in bunches, we will do that. If you have a comment, hold your comment, let's take the questions, then we will come back to comments. Even if it's comments about the struggle, about Oliver, about Chris, about Sako and his group, just hold those comments. Let us first take questions so that when our bereaved members have to leave, we can now share the comments. So, Comrade Eleno, you are first. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I had to. Good evening in the house. I'm just lost of words. Comrade Francis, Dr. Edmond, Chief Asava. It's devastating. Please just take heart and we are with you and your families. My question it's a question and a request at the same time. We have been seeing the misbehavior of this group of individuals in the struggle. We have been seeing how they've been undoing all the gains or many of the gains that we've been having in the struggle. The town hall, I've heard Comrade Atto and the rest, they've said we have to, the town hall has decided that we have to go out there and denounce this group. My question is, when? Because I remember we had some incident some months ago and we decided that we're going to go out and denounce them. Because honestly, to me, these are La République people. They are not for this struggle. These are people that are planted by La République. I'm not just saying it because of this. I'm saying this because of other things that have happened, which, because of their sensitivity, cannot be put out in public right now. These are not people fighting for this struggle. And so my plea to the town hall is, when are we officially doing this outing? Because we do not have time. This has to happen like yesterday. I'm sorry that I'm getting so emotional. I hear.
Thank you, Comrade Elena. Before we go on, just to answer you, we have Francis, we have Edmond, we have Chief. They are all part of the town hall. We would duly respect the Lebialem community. We will consult with them, and as soon as they give us the green light out of respect, then we will go out and make any pronouncement. But as I said, we will consult with the Lebialem community. Remember that there is a part of the Lebialem community that is part and parcel of the SACO group. We are not bothered with them. When we say Lebialem community, we are talking about those who are independent of the grip or stronghold that the SACO group has on them. So we'll consult with them and then we'll put out a statement. And as you said, it won't be a one-time thing. We will now aggressively and continuously go after this group because they are causing a lot of problems in this struggle. Thank you. Let's take Michael, God of War, and then Jojo. Michael. Chairman Frank, are you okay?
Hello,
Okay.
is it the Michael Nam or another Michael Nam?
I see Michael Nam. I don't know how many.
Okay, sir. Yes, I'm the one. Thank you very much for this privilege. Please, before I go on, I want to ask a question, but let me extend my own regards and sympathy and condolence to the family that are affected. I'm very, very sorry for the incident. Please, just for clarification, I want to ask if there have been a formal investigation into the issue, or if we have a first-hand confession from any of the individuals that we see on the picture, or that were directly involved among the people that were arrested, or that were let me say kidnapped by Field Marshal. Have there been a confession from them? Maybe we have it in an audio message that can serve as an evidence to the crime, or are we drawing this conclusion from eyewitnesses only? Thank you.
Okay. So please let the Lebialem community make notes and then they'll answer those questions. LS at Bine, I don't know if that's Chief. Your hand is up. Then God of War. Go ahead, LS.
Oh, I've already spoken. I will lower my hand. Sorry, after I comment, I will lower my hand. Sorry.
Thank you. God of War, you're next.
Heart goes out to my.
Speak louder, please. We cannot hear you.
My heart goes out to my comrades that have lost loved ones during the tragic event that took place in the PLM, and I'm just lost of words like any other person. I'm not really related to them, but I am related to them as a human being, that I look at people that have been killed, and I imagine that this can be my uncle, this can be my brother, this can be a son, or anything. It can happen to me as that happened to Dr. Edmond, Comrade Frank, and Chief. I think that what have we learned from this? This is not the first, and I think it will not be the last. We keep on talking. And before I ask my question, I'm sending a message to Chris Anu and his group of vipers. You two lot cannot hold us. These people have reduced us to nothing. Two people have reduced us. It looks like we are nothing to these people. That you will kill your own brother. Same village that you come from. I don't know these people, but I just have to believe. You take your own brothers and you kill them and you dump their bodies in the rivers. And there are two people sat in the US doing this, perpetrating all this action. And they are killing people back at home. These people have nothing. The least that they have, people are taking it away from them and you're killing them and dumping their bodies with so much disrespect. Please, those who are in the USA, you people need to come together and march to these people's houses. These people live with you in the same environment. For God's sake, these people, you know where they live. You people have to galvanize yourself and march to their houses. And you people stand on the streets and say these people are doing bad things in this country. These people, we need to bring these people to book. These people cannot do this. Look at if there's somebody that's somebody's dad has been killed, you shoot people and dump their bodies, and we sit and we keep on talking. Please, we have to go to where these people live and bring them out of their houses and hand them over to the real authorities to deal with them. We cannot continue talking. These are march to their houses and speak to them and let them come out wherever they are hiding in the US. People who claim they were pastors, you sit and you kill people. I don't have much to say, but all I will ask these families, Francis, these are your people that have been murdered. Take really action. Put your friends together. You go to the state, wherever Chris Anu and the Lord, all of them are. Sit there and let the authorities bring these people out and put them where they have to be. I hear.
Thank you. Thank you, comrade. Thank you. Jojo, and then iPhone and Frederick and Kingsley. Jojo, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. If I'm Sam, I'm shocked. I'll be lying. I'm not shocked. I'm just perplexed. What I want to find out is, have the people managed to find out about their motivation to do such a thing? Because, yeah, we need to know the motivation. If you find out the motivation for doing that, that's all.
Thank you, Jojo. iPhone 2.
Yes, my condolences to the Libya LM group and to all of us. This is friendly fire, and it's unfortunate that such friendly fire is coming at this point in our history. But I think the most important question is, why this friendly fire? There's been question of monies, there's been question of a commander who either has excessive powers, or there is a struggle, you know, for one group to override the other group. So I think we must look at it beyond just the persons that have died and the persons that have been sacrificed because of this. So, and even if we would want to direct this crime that indirectly at Chris Anu and maybe Sako, whosoever, we must look at the chain of command. And as long as we cannot control this chain of command in any army, in any war, if you have a general who cannot be controlled, you have all these excesses, and then people pay a big price, and it will actually undermine, you know. So, and then the other thing which we've not been able to exclude is what others are saying, you know, is maybe not just only flaring fire, but we are having an enemy within the house. So an enemy or La Republic had infiltrated the whole process or the whole struggle. And so all these things we are seeing as, you know, skirmishes, as friendly fire, actually, you know, once in a while that the La Republic penetrates into the system and gets its own. Otherwise, you might say that if it is just one commander who is actually making this excessive, you know, you can clear him out of the way and you bring stability into the whole system, because, I mean, the crimes have been many. But I think we really need to, before we start making public statements and thinking of what aggressive way to approach this thing, what to do into the international community, we must consider how can we do some kind of house cleaning. Except we don't come to that point, we always have another situation like this. If it's not Commander A today, it's Commander Z tomorrow. And then so it's like we are having a struggle which we cannot present a common front. And that is very unfortunate. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Just to make a correction before I go to Frederick and Eric, I don't think this is not this, at least this particular one. Yes, there has been friendly fire, but this is not friendly fire. Friendly fire is accidental on one's own brother or sister in arms. This was a massacre. It's just like happened in the US here when a soldier went into the barracks and opened fire and killed his own comrades, this guy was an extremist. He was a major. Nobody called that a friendly fire. That was a deliberate a massacre. So let's call it what it is. And when people who are here go out and try to mislead, then it's no longer about a commander who is committing crimes out of madness or craziness. When the group supporting him goes out and uses their platform and puts out audios in the vernacular and deceive the same people who are digging the graves and try to lie to them, then there is complicity in the setup, and that's where it ceases to be one person. If it's one person, let his brother Chris Anu and Sako, who are now covering for him, go out there and condemn the act and leave him to take full responsibility for his madness. To the extent to which they continue to manipulate, it is not one person. It's a crime. It's a syndicate. So Frederick and then Eric, and then we'll let Edmond and Francis and Chief Asaba answer because they have to leave very soon. Frederick, go ahead, and then Eric.
Good afternoon. It's really a sad thing for such a thing to happen among us. And I will send great condolence to the people of Lebialem. Lebialem has been the stronghold, but now, what we are seeing, we could not expect such a thing in Lebialem. These are the people that protected you, you turn again against them. And I can say it is a premeditated crime. And I will rather throw my question but to the House. Can we not write a statement to deny them and even report them for prosecution like we are compiling things against the Republic? I think the town hall as a whole, we need to write such a thing with immediate effect, not chill. We need to start now, deny what they are doing, expose them so that others that are thinking of such a thing should know that Southern Cameroons would deny them. Because as Southern Cameroons, we deny this type of a thing. I happened to travel home. That was December last year. As we went, we passed through some military point the way they were disturbing. One man, the driver that came, said, look, that's why we say we don't want these French people. They will oppress you without the law. They kill you anyhow. Even if there was an issue, where did they try these people even before doing anything? In somebody, there is no issue. It is a premeditated crime, and it is time for us to stamp it out. And as I can say it, God has a reason for allowing it happen. It may be painful, but God has a reason. And the reason to me is to tell Southern Cameroons that these people are not people to be in this struggle. These are people that will oppress us the more tomorrow. That people should deny them now, not tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Frederick. Let's take Eric, the last one, and then we would hand over to the Lebialem community. Eric, go ahead.
Thank you, Comrade. I just wish to extend my deepest sympathy and condolence to the people of Lebialem, and that these are the trying moments, and we should continue to bind together and look for a better way forward. And in addition to that, this is not the first case where our own have decided to take lives of people that they should be protecting, and maybe because they think that they have too much power. That happened in Bansa, if we might just few months, and if we continue allowing those things to happen, it's going to happen, and we'll just come here and talk and go. At the same time, for those who are here giving orders and protecting those back home and giving them the resources to commit these crimes, which go contrary to what we are looking for. It's time we put this together, and this country is a country of laws. We can also go after them. And also, there are a lot of ways we can also do, which I'm not going to say here, to go after those who are committing these crimes. Because you cannot stay in America and they give orders, and then you sleep in your homes, and then they are killing relatives back home. I think that is normal because you're in America and because you are leading what, I don't know. But that is something that we have to start thinking. And there are people who can provide resources, there are people who can also take actions. So if that is what I think we should be doing, so that we should set examples. Those who are making decisions and sitting here calling themselves whatever, they should also be paying the price of those who are going through these challenges that is being done because of their decisions or whatever reason that they're doing it. That is just my case. But the town hall also look into that. Some of us are here with knowledge of how to get things done, to get the resources. So if that is something, I'll gladly want to be part of it and also make sure that this nonsense comes to an end. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Eric. Before I hand over to the Lebialem community, please, if you want to be part of it and if you know resources, I just see Eric. I don't have your contacts or know where you are. If you want to private message me in the chats.
No, we do communicate. I am the same Eric who forwarded you the support for the CD and the support for the translation. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. So I'll get in touch with you, and we will talk further about what we can do and what resources. Because I think one of the first questions was to that point: if there is any communication or audio, and not just in Lebialem, if our people have audios, videos, text that can connect people in the diaspora who are specifically giving instructions to people on ground zero to commit atrocities, be it kidnapping, be it transferring money or anything. Please, we are available to take that. And for people who want to remain anonymous, we promise you your confidentiality. We just need the information. There are things going on we cannot divulge at this town hall because they are still ongoing, like the people in the diaspora who are giving instructions for kidnapping and are collecting money in the diaspora in the name of supporting a paying levy for the struggle. It is happening. And we are going to talk about that once we get the green light from the authorities. So if you have any information that can tie people in the diaspora, audios, videos, WhatsApp messages, text, please, the town hall is going to put its face in front, and we are willing to go down if that's what is going to happen, to help our people be free from these criminals who are committing atrocities from the United States of America, and even those in Europe. Some of the people receiving the money and giving the instructions to wire money for kidnapping are in Europe, and their names have been submitted. So if you have any information, please reach out to the town hall, and we are going to take it from there. Lebialem, if you want to answer the questions, go ahead.
Yeah, Edmund here. Does Francis or my good friend Mr. Sabag want to go first? Or I should, otherwise I have some of the questions and some of my comments that were made, and I mean comments that were made that I would like to respond to.
Edmond, I would prefer you did the presentation, and most of the questions that were asked were already part of the presentation.
Right. So the first question of all the things that were said, there were two questions. The rest were mostly comments. First question was about whether there was first-hand information or formal investigation, or actually talking to the people who were actually there on ground. Like I said, yes, we have spoken to people who were directly involved. People whose pictures, some of whose pictures you see on the picture that was faces you see on the pictures that I sent out. So yes, we've spoken to them who were there at the time, as well as spoken to the person again who actually carried and transported FM on his bike. And these are not people who don't know him. The rest, the people, every one of them, and we will talk to every one of those people who was there ultimately at some point. So that's make no doubt about that. Yes, in terms of audios, we have treasure troves of audios about that, and all the accounts, and as well as the spouses of the victims, those that were there. I mean, when their parents, when their spouses were picked up. So, La Republique doesn't have any moral standing nor do they even have an interest in actually doing any formal investigation. Because if they did, they would have condoned that. They would have cordoned off that place as a crime scene, taken some pictures and then established the kinds of bullets that were used, they can do that. All what La Republique was trying to do there was a show. It was just to really they have an opportunity, and so they have to seize on it, to be able to show that they are now, quote unquote, the savior, which is actually one of the most galling thing that you can really, that you could have imagined on this. So the second thing that is there is, if you listen to, again, Chris Anu's audio when they were rebuting these things, there were a couple of questions that he raised. Number one, I don't know that he actually had any. He didn't. I don't know that he actually even had any sense of actually calling people down to figure out what was going on. The first thing was, let's just release the people who were actually taken, and those people that you see there. But those people were released that same day. None of them was picked up. Second thing was, there is nobody from that particular fighting group from FM who actually goes to that place, or they have never been there. It turns out to be wrong, because his second in command, Mr. Ambrose Achanke, was actually picked up on the scene, and you have seen his pictures from the B by the other terrorist organization, the B. He's in their captive, so it's like two gangs that were there, and one gang actually was able to capture you. You are refusing, no, we're not there, but then they picked up your second in command, and so you need to let us know how that second in command was picked up, how he managed to be there. Third was for those of you that might have listened to that class, was actually the point he made that, by the way, the bullet that they used in shooting the fourth victim, Mr. George, whose hand was shot, that the folks, the hoodlums who did this don't have those kind of guns. Number one is, how do you know? Number two, and more important, is that everybody who has actually been interviewed, who actually talked about this, who were there, the eyewitnesses told you that, yes, that guy was actually shot by La Republique. Everybody has made that point, that bullet was, that guy, this Mr. George, was shot by La Republique. So of the 4 victims who died in that place, this is the one person who was killed by La Republique's bullet. So that answers that question. 2 was the more important question that somebody asked: what is their motivation? I can tell you, nobody knows. We can totally talk about the knowns. In every investigation, in every crime like this, there is the known, there is the unknown, and so what we know is what we have just fervently established. What we don't know is the motivation. But what I can ask my question is: are these useful idiots, or are these useful fools, or are they fifth columnists within the revolution? And I'll tell you, permit me to talk about it. It's the idea that when somebody does something like this, that doesn't even benefit him in one way, shape, or form. Because if you have actually stretched to think about it and say, what benefit does this guy derive from this? I just cannot know. And I just don't think he has any benefit from it, other than maybe the blindness of tyrants, who always feel like when they are crossed, when they give an instruction that is not obeyed, that they have the power to do and undo. In Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment, which I invite every one of you to probably read about, it's a big novel, but what they're saying is that when criminals like this kind of like always feel like they are superior to every other person, and that they have gotten to a point where they can do anything and go scot-free, and just because they can do it means they should do it. But that's one. But number 2, the point Eleanor made, the point other people have made, and it's actually the question: is there some connection between them, between these people? Is somebody, Libyan people just caught up between the web of the portasons of the world and their paymaster La Republique, and some of our own people who are being used in some different ways that we don't know. After all, it's not too long ago when we had the same FM, when he made an audio and was thanking Portason and for his support. In one of his audios that he came out, at the time, many of us thought that it was just kind of like blackmailing, or maybe just some kind of fun, or just it was some, just bluffing. But when things like this begin to happen, then you have to actually begin to ask yourself, what is going on? But I'm not competent in that. The people should actually go out there and ask those questions. And I would say the BLM is not going to be held captive. And anybody who is thinking that they will do this and then break the will of the BLM people, the resolve of the BLM people in prosecuting this war, defending ourselves against La Republique and fighting for freedom and eventually getting our right to self-determination, that person must be smoking something. They need their brain checked, because we will not give in, we will not surrender, we're not going to quit. But we need to actually be able to get rid of these hoodlums from amongst us who are making things very difficult for us. One of the things I want to say is that I heard somebody talk about the BLM who are part of the Sacco group and stuff like that. Yes, let me say, that psychologically, one of the things that had happened is, all of you must have heard this, including some of our brothers and sisters from the people who actually sympathize with us from La Republique. They had actually looked at quote unquote Fee Marshall, who has actually been made to be this fictional, hero, the story of David and Goliath, David fighting the Goliath of La Republique and standing up to them. They made that to be a kind of like a fool. And there is that gullibility from amongst us where people actually look at that and say, yeah, I'm on the side of this person, and we behave like sports supporters. Your team does everything, it is right. Your team, and then the other team does it, it is wrong. And people have actually looked at that and actually like acquiesced to that, and then they thought that anything that he does, nobody should actually even ask a question. We could see this coming. Some of us saw this coming from many years ago. When you give people like this unfettered power, and then you get somebody who is there actually trying to sanitize their image for all the criminality that they could commit from small, and it will just snowball into something as big as this. Remember, the man-eating tiger that you see today was once a cub. And at the time when it was a cub, if you had tamed it, if you had trained it, it will not grow into this man-eating tiger. And we need to go back. And I wish that when this revolution actually, when this thing settled, the lessons that we learn from the BLM, don't pity the BLM. Let us stand on this and actually learn from this and be strong and ask and make sure that the lives of these brave chiefs, the lives of these people don't go in vain, like the life of Baby Mata, like the life of the 7 kids that got murdered in Kumba, like the life of the Ngabu Massacre. All of these people, their lives cannot go in vain. The life of Comfort and so on and so forth, they cannot go in vain. So, but we must actually take out the weed that is amongst us to allow the crops to grow, and the crops are the true freedom fighters. The last thing I would actually talk about is this, letting people know that there is a big economy of war. As I was doing this investigation, I actually have uncovered some of the criminality that is going on. Some of the things that it's good for us to share with you people. For the army people, for the military that goes out there, sometimes as you realize that, this is the reason why many of them are not interested in solving this problem. One of the things is the military that is going out there, a foot soldier earns 10,000 francs per day. The captain earns about 40,000 francs per day for their outstation allowance once they are in that place. The generals, we don't even know how much. The politicians, we don't know how much. That information will eventually figure out and know that information. So you can see the reason why these people want this war to continue. Nobody is willing to talk even from that level. They cannot even insist on talking. And you can then see the reason why. Could it be that this is the reason why the portasons of the world are connecting with some of these people and giving how much Even Chris Anu himself came out and talked about them talking. And I want to talk publicly and say Porter Song and Chris Anu, they should publish the images. They should publish everything, their conversations. They will put their conversation online. They are used to taping people, and I'm not sure that this conversation that I'm having tomorrow, somebody will be on tape and doctor it. They should put their unfiltered conversation in public. Let us all listen. I want to know what is going on with my people. My people cannot be sacrificed like this. I am angry, I'm upset, and there is no way I will pick up this and I will fight this. And I know that some of the people who actually even helped do the interviews from here, some people have been calling them to threaten them. And I'm waiting for that clown who is going to call my phone for threats, you know, and then they will let then me deal with them. So in the last, you know, so one of the things, the BLM culture was desecrated, and the BLM people are actually the chiefs, the bodies of the chiefs, you never see them. In the BLM, we never talk of dead chiefs. We talk about chiefs who have traveled and come back. But those are the chiefs those are the bodies of our chiefs that we are showing now because of that crime. And so because of that, all the BLM people would actually stand as one. If the people who are within us trying to commit these atrocities, we will weed them out, and you can count on us, you can count on the BLM people, that this war, this struggle, we will win. I want to end there by saying that again, it just has to help us to actually understand the importance of structure rather than relying on individuals. Because as even if you go back into all the similar things that have happened, it's always been about when you make one individual feel like they have become the Leviathan of the struggle. They have become the person you know, on whose shoulder the struggle rests, and without them, nobody else, you know, the struggle can't move. When you give people that unfettered power, especially people who have never seen it, what do you think? They will abuse it. They will abuse it. So we should understand the importance of structure. And this is why each time we people come here and we're talking about structure, we should think about it, and we should use this as an opportunity to learn and actually make sure that we as a people move forward, learn from our mistakes, and move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Edmond. I don't know if Francis or Chief Asaba wants to say something.
He said everything for me.
It's
Maybe
fine. It's fine. I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. And again, Kingsley, your hand is up. Were you going to say something real quick before we close this section? Kingsley, are you there? Go ahead, Kingsley. All right. He's not saying anything. Kingsley, if you're saying something...
Moderator, if you may allow me to speak when everything is...
No, speak now, Dr. Fontem, so that we can round it, so that we're not rounding and then...
Yes, please, I have a motion. And I think that one of the things that I want to say before tabling my motion is that these people, this Field Marshal or Oliver is not an individual. He takes his instructions and executes them accordingly. They all belong to a particular group. And these are the people who are raking a fortune. They are feeding fat from this liberation struggle. I want to remind Southern Cameroonians that this same name has been used to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars here in the United States, and that money has never gone anywhere. People have used money under the guise of, they have collected people's money under the guise of prosecuting the liberation struggle and used it to buy stocks in the world market. I want us to remember that about 265,000 worth of Bitcoins were bought about 3 years ago. Today we know the price of Bitcoins. These people have made more than 7 times $264,000 and still have not returned our money. They have caught our people in Lebialem collected ransom from them, and part of that ransom derived from kidnapping has ended up here in the United States. I think that at some point, even after we denounce them, they still are not restrained. They are not stopping. So it is important that we as a people stand out against this kind of behavior, which is marring our credibility as a people and creating the impression that we are unable to govern ourselves and we are unable to manage our liberation struggle. From the foregoing statement, I want to move a motion and let it be moved that this Southern Cameroon's International Town Hall join the people of Southern Cameroon to condemn these acts, these atrocities perpetrated by, I don't know what his other name is, but I know his name is Oliver, alias Phil Marshall, on the innocent people of Lebialem under the canopy of Dr. Sako Samuel's faction of the interim government. I want, in the second part of the motion, I want us to call on the international community to inscribe these acts and previous ones committed by this faction of the interim government, and by that I mean even the ones in Bui, on the list of atrocities of war, investigate them and punish them accordingly, and to also urge the people of Southern Cameroon and all those supporting these atrocities to stop forthwith, or else we will also publish their names and their role in these heinous crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fontaine. We would come back to this motion because we have somebody who has a hard stop at the bottom of the hour, who is here briefly to talk about something very important. I think we should allow our community from Fontaine to be able to move on to what they have to do, and then come back to the motions after this very short talk by another guest who is here. But we would move the motion, or we would pass a motion before the end of this town hall session today. That we will do, and then consult with the Lebialem community when to officially release that statement out of respect. And burials are going on. As Francis said, there's another one on Thursday. So we will move a motion, and then the resolution will be put out once the grieving community gives us the green light.
Just a correction, that the last last burial took place this past Thursday. That was
this past Thursday, not
that was the mother of one of the chiefs, the murder chiefs who actually died of shock. So that was that took place this past Thursday. All the other people have been laid to rest, I believe. Francis, is that my understanding? Because the only person I wasn't privy to know was Mr. George, whether he was laid to rest. Because I know Chief Alessa, Chief Famin, and Fazizong were all laid to rest. On Sunday or so. But did Mr. George, was he already laid to rest as well?
I believe so. I think Professor was laid to rest on Sunday
at 3 a.m. Right?
No, in the afternoon. He was early in the day.
Yeah, 3 p.m. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then the chiefs were laid to rest, breaking Sunday, for Z at around 1:30 a.m. and forming around 3.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. George, everybody has been laid to rest. Mami was also breaking Thursday morning.
Yeah. So I think that if the get a motion passed, and which I really would support such motion, and also would agree, and Eric, we would pick you up with that, and everybody else here who is able to have any way, any shape that we can seek justice for these people, as well as for the other people, it would be a deterrent for the other people also from committing these atrocities, and we would spare some more lives, and we would actually make our revolution, we'll sanitize our revolution and make it speedier and come to a more a speedier conclusion for our people.
Okay. Well, in that case, let us.
Sorry, please. Yes, please. So, this is Mr. Michael Abeg. I think if one of my question was omitted. One of the questions was that I just need to chip in before we proceed. Abeg.
Yes, please. You have to. Yes, go ahead.
I asked if there is a recorded, maybe evidence, something recorded confession from any of the victims, which we can use as evidence against Field Marshal. Thank you.
No, there are eyewitness accounts. The victims themselves, there was nobody at the time when they picked up all those people with their phones. Nobody could use their phones, and there is actually even no. And then but we have eyewitness accounts, and eyewitness accounts actually within 24 hours of the crime, or even as the crimes were actually even being, I should say, actively committed that night. So we have those eyewitness accounts on audios, not really just some of the things that we've told you are part of the things that we extracted from that we could share publicly.
Yeah, that's another thing. Everything cannot be shared, but I think the question was if there's anything that ties these Chris Anos and these people here, like just a communication. Do this.
No, there is no known. My problem with Chris Anu is not that he gave instructions to do that, but is the elaborate lies that he was trying to peddle, to deflect the attention. You really cannot, if that was instructions was given, none of us would know that, unless somebody publishes that information, which is not, which is beyond my reach. My intention here was to establish the facts of what happened on ground, so the competent authorities will pick that and then get those people, and if they dig in, then they can pick up they can get out the rest of the information that they may desire. I'm not
Okay, so Dr. Fontem's motion, I would suggest, Dr. Fontem, that let's have two separate motions. One condemning this act, and then the other part of, because your motion seems to have included prosecution, which I don't know that we have the power yet. I would suggest that we do a motion where we come out as Southern Cameroonians, condemn this, call out the people who did it, and distance ourselves from that act, that heinous act. And then we can do another motion, which would be for, calling for prosecution of these people. That's my suggestion. So we can round this up and move to the next. Since Dr. Edmond is here and he has to leave, he says he wants to support the motion. Dr. Fontem, are you there?
Yes, please. Mr. Moderator, I think that, yes, okay, my mic is on. I think that in drafting the text of because the motion is going to finally emerge as a resolution taken by the House. So the final resolution taken by the House will comprise all these things that the way you have put it.
Yes, but is it going to be two separate resolutions or one resolution? That's my point.
If you want us to take it as, because normally we are supposed to take a resolution condemning and distancing ourselves from what they have done, call for an investigation, call for what they have done to be inscribed on the list of atrocities, and that these acts be investigated and punished accordingly, and that urge all those supporting them to desist and distance themselves as well, because these guys are only up to what they are doing because there is a cabal of crooked people who hope that they will become the government of tomorrow and suffocate everybody and sell the land. Now, and the last point will be for us to extend our condolences to the afflicted families. So it is normally supposed to be 4 pieces in one. So but when we take all those things, then I don't know how we want to frame them, but if we can frame them as 4 separate four separate resolutions, then in issuing as four separate motions in issuing the resolution, it will now come as one resolution.
Okay, I don't know what the House thinks. If anybody has any suggestions about the resolutions, I see a couple of hands up. But
because the resolution is on the incident, so everything related to the incident has to be addressed as one.
Okay.
Yes. I yield.
Okay, so if you've tabled the motion, I think the motion will need the resolution will need a secondment. Is there somebody in the House who wants to second the resolution so that it can be worked on, and then its publication, I think, should be a draft can be read here, and then its publication will be subject to consulting with the Lebialem community. Is there?
I second that.
Okay, thank you, Hatenon. So the Secretariat would work on it. They will present us a draft, and then, as I said, we will consult with the Lebialem community out of utmost respect, and then we would put it out. So thank you, Dr. Fontaine.
Comrade
Yes.
Please, I just need to, I would like to add something. It may not even be an addition, but it is going to be a clarification for me, if that's what Dr. Fontaine meant. About exposing these people, I don't know how these resolutions that came up, I don't know how to work, but if we have the possibility of already handing these names over to those that that will be in the position of implementing these resolutions, meaning that we are making their work easier, we hand the names to say these are specific atrocities that need to be investigated. And when I talk of these resolutions, I'm talking of like the 684, and then if we end up having a UN Security Council fact-finding mission, or this Global Magnitsky Act, those are the names that we need to hand them over so that justice can prevail. Meaning, if we start putting them out there that these names are going to be handed over, I think it will stop other people, or at least it will make people think twice when they are offered or when they are pushed or whatever is done for them to commit such atrocities. So I don't know how that can be phrased in that letter to really stress out this point. I yield.
We'll try.
Mr. Moderator, let me just make one quick point. With relation to the folks that are out hiding here in the United States or in the diaspora, and the reason why we must figure out that one of the tapes or the audios that were sent out by Chris Anu and those people who actually were supporting or maybe trying to deflect attention and claiming that these these crimes were caused by whoever pointing figures. These things need to be picked out, because I could see the hand of the so-called blue and white army behind it in this. And so we need to actually flush that out. Take any one of you here who know the voices of, there were two ladies who actually went out. And for those of us that have the benefit of being from the BLM, and they can understand the Bangwa, and you know, the three things that happened immediately that day, as we were struggling to actually put things together. There were two ladies who came out with versions in English. There was one person from the BLM who came out with a version in Bangwa, and then Chris Anu. And if you look at you find that they were all the same thing, talking from the same point, And then the following day, Chris Anu gave an elaborate 44 minutes or 42 minutes class. It was in Bangla, but there were some other versions in English. And so if you are actually coming and picking up this information, what we want to make sure is that if you don't know any of these things and you are making all this absurd stuff, then you definitely know something about it. And that is the point that needs to be made. That information has to be investigated. People need to get that information and then congeal that information and ask and put it in this to be able to like say, yes, if you have to go do this investigation, these are the people you can go after now first.
To Comrade Eleanor's point, yes, once this resolution comes out, we are going to with a lot of the work which the Lebialem community has done, the interviews which are on record, the continued threats which are being recorded by the people who are receiving the threats, yes, we are going to forward those to all these credible organizations that are now documenting these things, and some of the partners who are now talking to us, and we're going to avail it to other groups that have further connections, the Oasis, FES group, the CDN, all those groups. We are going to, as Southern Cameroonians, give them this information. So when they're talking out there, this should be presented. Offices of members of U.S. Congress that are close enough to us, they will be copied on this particular incident. They have been, some of them have are already aware of it. We just have to get our story together in a very concise and organized manner and submit it to them. Now, what to do with it, we don't know, but we will do that. We will do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alan, do you want to round up? We have, so that we can move to the next item.
Yeah, I want to round up actually. Again, one of the things that this platform and the town hall prides itself in so far till date, which gives us the respect that we have in the community, is working on facts and taking resolutions and making decisions based on the facts we have in hand. Having listened to what Dr. Emma has presented, and even in the answer questions that we have back and forth, the facts that we have right now on hand, it's proving that the crime that was committed was done by Oliver, whatever his name is, and we now have information that we can actually go after that particular group that actually committed the crime. I think that if we're making a resolution, or we're tabling a resolution in the town hall, we should table a resolution that is focused on that particular aspect of it. We are still trying to get evidence or to get information in terms of tying it back to the groups in the diaspora, unless I'm wrong, right? So I would suggest that we set up the resolution such that if tomorrow we're asked a question about it, we have the evidence that we can show that we came up with this solution because we have this, and then we hold off on any resolution that has to do with the diaspora until we actually have that particular evidence. Now, I say this lightly because the other spin of this is that if we're trying to open up an investigation, right, and we're talking about like maybe getting people like the CIA or FBI involved, sometimes those guys, or most of the time, they work on a tip. You have to give them some information, and then those guys have access to people's phone records, have access to communication and everything else. They can actually open up an investigation. In that particular case, yes, you can say, listen, we suspect these guys because this criteria is met, this criteria is met, this criteria is met, this is what we think their motion is, and we table it to them. But inside the town hall, inside our operating space, I think that when we're tabling a motion, or we're tabling resolutions, we should do that based on facts we have on hand. And I'm saying that just because I was saying that I would suggest that when we look at the motion that Dr. Fontem put forward, we probably might want to edit that just to be able to again go with the facts we have on hand. I know that this is a very emotional thing. I know that we have even some ideas as to, yes, of course, we don't believe that Mr. Oliver would execute that by himself. Obviously, they had to have had a command that came from the other party group here in the US. Now, do we have those facts? If the answer is yes, we run with that and put that also as part of the motion. If the answer is no, behind the scenes, we work on that and we focus that motion now based on the facts we have in terms of that particular crime that was committed. I'm saying this because, yes, it really hurts now and we are really in pain, but we have to be careful that the image of the town hall remains one of 100% trust, right? We want to make sure that this time next year, town hall it's the people's platform, and it remains the people's platform. We don't want to come back in a 6 months period and say, oh well, we said this in this motion, but we're going to revise it now. We found out that it was that kind of thing. I'm just pleading with that with the house that we use caution. That's what I'm saying.
Point of information.
Doctor, let me just conclude on this.
Point of information.
Dr. Dr. Fundem, go ahead, then Francis will conclude on this.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, I just want to inform the House that everybody knows that Oliver operates under the aegis of the Dr. Sarko's faction of the interim government. So if Oliver has done anything which Dr. Sarko's faction condemned and has rather abated or is trying to cover up, it means that they have literally endorsed it. And so they take responsibility for what Oliver has done. I think that it is as clear as that. So it is now for whoever wants to deny it to now come out and condemn whatever has happened, to condemn the act perpetrated by Oliver. Our responsibility as a people is for us to take our stand based on the information we have collected and corroborated, because we know where the orders came from, because it is Oliver is supposed to be the field marshal of a military structure which takes their orders from Dr. Sarko's government. I yield, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, sorry to cut in. I mean, I tend to agree with the pre-existing suggestion that we said, let us work on the facts that we have gathered and which we can stand by. And that is this motion that at least Mr. Oliver can be connected to the killings in the BLM, because to be able to link it up with the upper structure in the US, it will be very complex and difficult. And I think as a starting point, the facts for now, at least all the discussion we've had today, have tended to point just to the fact that the BLM killings can be associated with Oliver. But I think we can work first on that. Thank you.
Ato, I think what I was going to say is in line with what the last speaker just said. I wanted to say on the facts, we can, in the resolution, condemn the act and name the perpetrators of the act. And as far as the diaspora is concerned, if we are going to levy anything on them, it is for obfuscating or trying to hide, hide the evidence. That's the only thing that we can levy at them, because the only thing we know now for sure is that Chris Anu has told a lot of lies. So we can only limit it at that. So Oliver for the action, and as far as the diaspora is concerned, for trying to muddy the waters and lie. So the resolution should be limited to that, I would say, because we have facts of that. We know what happened, and we know what Chris Anu has gone out and said.
Right.
Okay, while we work on that and we switch, I just wanted to point out there is the issue of chain of command. And in military, in war, as long as there is a chain of command, the chain of command is responsible. We don't need phone records to know that. So I would ask that the secretariat, as we work on the resolution, maybe just include the chain of command.
Yes.
And I think that is what I'm saying is, see, what Francis and others are saying, that when people need to see how, look at how they caught El Chapo in Mexico. When they go after you pick what you know, which is what I limited to what we know. And what we know, you give those facts. And what we also know is these elaborate lies that are constructed out here. We give these ideas, we give these things and say, okay, and then you link that chain of commands, and then you link in these lies to say, yes, if this was not the case, why all these elaborate lies? If you were not taking your, what are you hiding? And that's when a good investigator then goes in there, get that information, get the phone record, the communication records, and they can do all of this information. Right. And all of these things. Once they do that, then it will not even be you to explicitly say, oh, we're tying you to this, because they would already make the connections, which we don't have to. Because again, we only can say what we know. And if I was not sure of what I'm telling you here, if this was still circumstantial evidence that I was not sure, I would not even come to this zone to talk about it. The folks that are in the secretariat with me will know that when this was still going on, we said, hey, we're still looking at until we got the information. Can we even come out? And actually, I would not really even have come out at this point, because we were still gathering some information until I started seeing all this muddying of the waters, obfuscation, and this elaborate lies by Grace Anu. And then it became like, you don't want to wait until, this person has already muddied the entire water, and then you're coming out with this, because the more people hear about it, the more they start believing that it may actually be true.
just same to Joseph Goggles, tell a big lie and continuously tell it, and people would eventually believe it's true. So let's limit ourselves now to what we know. We know that what we know now, if you pick it and a good investigator looks at it, we are going to you are going to tie it directly to Chris Anu and Chris Anu to his boss in that gang chain, and then we can go from there.
Okay, Dr. Edmond, so that we are not bogged down in the debate, why don't you and Dr. Fontaine work on this in the background and then just give us a draft before we are done today? Okay, is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So I want to thank our Lebialem community again. Our heartfelt condolences. We are not done with the topic. The draft is being worked in the background. We want to make sure it accommodates varying opinion as best as we can, so that the document we are sending out there, now that we have an advanced footing in the international community, is really solid as best as we can. I don't know if we were going to have here would have here at the top of the hour for this reference paper, but between now and then we were going to talk about the temporary protected status. We had a guest who was going to speak about it. They had a hard time of 2:30. I don't know if they are still in house. Lady B, are you still there?
Yes.
Is our guest still here?
Yes, she is here.
Okay.
Welcome to ACN.
Where them be? Nominally be them days? Yes. Let them come now. Why them there? Sister! I want to for the Liberian people. I like my people.
We like you too, Field Marshal.
And I like the numbers. I like all the chiefs. And I like all they become. Now, there's one thing I want to say. Something that I go talk about. I appreciate Minister Paul Tasso from Mamfe. When I know you, Paul Tasso not be our minister. We minister for Israel BLM. Huh? When I know that Paul Tasso. Okay. This fire. Now, Field Marshal for Amazonia the top. I appreciate also Fontumate Irenium na Fontem Boniface. Well, I don't like it too.
Number two, you talk about power tussle. This is not about power tussle. Chris Anu is not looking forward to becoming the president of Amazonia. Number two, you talk about power tussle. This is not about power tussle. Chris Anu is not looking forward to becoming the president of Amazonia. But one thing I know, Mimi Mamfe, is the CDC deal. Dr. Samuel Komesago cannot say it did not exist because I took it to him. I'm going to end it there. But one thing I know, Mimi Mamfe, is the CDC deal, Dr. Samuel Komesago cannot say it did not exist because I took it to him. I'm going to end it there. But one thing I know, Mimi Mayfor, is the CDC deal, Dr. Samuel Komesago cannot say it did not exist because I took it to him. I'm going to end it there. But one thing I know, Mimi Mayfor, is the CDC deal, Dr. Samuel Komesago cannot say it did not exist because I took it to him. I'm going to end it there. Number two, you talk about power tussle. This is not about power tussle. Chris Anu is not looking forward to becoming the president of Amazonia. Number two, you talk about power tussle. This is not about power tussle. Chris Anu is not looking forward to becoming the president of Amazonia.
Welcome to ACN.